Hi guys, Stacy Goggins again, back with our homemade projects, and today you can see that I am outside. So we are in our yard. We're going to be working on creating some stick art. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the supplies that you're going to need, and then I have a couple of different options that I'm going to go over with you guys. So first, some of the things that you need are sticks. I have an abundance around me right now because we have a lot of trees, but you can also use dowel rods or even old pencils if you need to find other things if you don't have sticks lying around. Yarn or string, scissors. You also might want to do the paint option. So acrylic paint for this, a paintbrush, and then possibly a hot glue gun if you want to glue your sticks down to your surface. So the first project or the first thing that you need to do is collect your sticks. And I just got some from the yard. I did try to get a variation, and I also made sure that they weren't super thick because I wanted to be able to break them to the length that I wanted. So keep that in mind if you are looking or getting sticks out in your yard. So a couple of the things that we can do. This is actually a three-dimensional object that I've created just by wrapping yarn. Now, the yarn that I'm using is scraps that I have laying around. So a multiple selection of colors and lengths, and I just kind of went with it. So you can be picky if you want to. You can choose certain colors, or you can just take the approach of what I did, and I'm just utilizing my scraps. So the first thing well, let me show you the other projects. So we've got our 3D option, and you may want to try all of these, or you might just look and say one sounds more appealing than the next, and that's fine too. I also wrapped this one, and I'm going to be using this as for a later project for a wind chime, but you could essentially hang other sticks or painted sticks from this too if you wanted to. And then this is a painted option, and I actually chose to glue it down onto my surface, and I went with the shape of a heart. So you could decide about creating shapes or designs, or you could be abstract as well. So if you're choosing to do the yarn, making sure that you break the sticks in the length that you want. And if you're doing the 3D option, I just went with all sticks roughly the same size. Now, clearly, I did not measure those out, but I just kind of went with breaking them in the same size. And then I just started with one piece of yarn. And again, I told you these are just scraps, so they're all different lengths. If you're doing the 3D option, what you wanted to do is start, and I just did like the letter T or cross, and I just started wrapping. I just started wrapping them around to get them to stay. And I'm just crisscrossing back and forth, just wrapping like so. Okay, so I'm just wrapping them in a crisscross pattern, almost making an X across the two of them, just until I feel that they're secure enough for me to add my next stick. Now, the nice thing about this is that there's really not a rhyme or reason in terms of how many sticks you choose. So I ended up doing 4 sticks with mine. But if you want to do more, again, you can try that out too. So I've added an additional stick, and now I'm doing the exact same method. I'm just crisscrossing and marking them on. So I'm just crisscrossing, going around just to make sure that all of my sticks are secure. Okay, so this part right now doesn't necessarily have to look pretty. You're just trying to make sure that you've secured your 3 sticks. You also, if you're wanting it to stand on its own, you want to test it. So sit it down on your surface to make sure that it will be able to stand. You've got enough supports that it will be able to stand alone. So once I feel secure, and I can do this with just the 3, once I feel secure, I'm going to just go ahead and finish out my yarn. And then this is when I can kind of pay attention and say, okay, aesthetically, I want to kind of fill in some of those gaps just to make it look nice. But now the main part of this is that you want it to be secured though as well. So once I have that secured, then I just kind of tucked my tail in on a branch. So I'm ready to select another color. And you can, like I said, you can do my method of just using the scraps, or you can make maybe patterns, or pick colors that might match your room. And when I start wrapping, I just hold my tail. So if I can show you, I just hold my tail along my branch, and then I actually just wrap over top of the tail. Okay, so that way it kind of just secures it on its own. I don't have to use glue or tape or anything like that. And now you can see I'm just slowly wrapping, and I've got that pink tail that I want to make sure that I get that tucked in there too. And I'm just slowly wrapping around. Now you can decide if you want to use one color all the way through, or if you want to stop and then get another color. But notice I'm just making sure that I don't see any of the stick in between, just keeping the yarn wrapping really, really close. And I do go over it a couple times just because I like the way it looks a little bit better when the yarn is a little bit thicker, but that's just a personal choice, okay? Now, when you get to the end, or let's say you want to finish this color, so I can take my scissors and I'm just gonna cut off, because I still have a lot of purple yarn right there. So I can just cut that part off and get my next color. And with my next color, I'm going to do the same method, just kind of tucking that tail and then wrapping around the tails to secure it in place. And then once you get to the very end, you are going to need to make sure that you tie your yarn to secure it. If you have a hot glue gun available, even just adding a little dab of glue at the end to secure that is also a great way to do, to make sure that it'll just stay in place. Okay, now I've wrapped it. I did not go all the way to the end. You can still kind of see my stick, and that is just a personal choice, but it also makes sure that my yarn is not going to fall off, because I've left enough space right there. So I'm just going to simply, I don't have my hot glue gun out here. I'm just going to simply tie my yarn in a knot at the end. Okay, and so if you're a little younger, you might need help. Sometimes knots can be a little bit tricky. You can ask an older sibling or an adult to just kind of help you tie that off. And then what I did is, once I have a knot, then I am going to trim the end so I don't have that long tail. Okay, so I'm going to trim that off. And then that leg of my stick 3D art is done. So then I'm ready to move around the rest of them. And I'm going to go back and show you a completed one. So this has a variety of colors. It is freestanding, so I can sit this on a table or a desk, and it looks really nice. It's kind of fun. So that is the three-dimensional choice. Now, if you choose to do, maybe you want to do a hanging, you can, same kind of method. Just pick a stick that you like, and then you can begin wrapping. The other thing that is really fun about this is that this right here, you can add other sticks, maybe painted sticks, and you could have a wind chime with that, or even just a hanging piece of work to display. But it's also really cool just standalone. If you have a couple of these and you make them with cool patterns, you can stick those in a vase, and they look really nice as well. Now, for the last option, the painted sticks, you do need to use acrylic paint for these. Okay, so it cannot be tempera paint. It won't stick well. I just made some choices to kind of do an abstract shape of a heart, and then I glued them down. But another thing might be kind of cool is you could attach those with string or yarn, and then even just using your piece that we were talking about and just hanging it. So be creative, try out different patterns with your yarn or with your paint, but I've given you some options that hopefully you find one that you enjoy and you've enjoyed creating outside in your yard. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.